Something else that I wonder that I think some listeners might benefit from is 8 years. Your mom. You're there for the kids. Everyone's used to you being home. You're the all the duties that come into being the stay-at-home parent, which I have been on and off as well. So I know it well and I love it. But it's a lot.
It's a
So
lot.
when you make this transition to I'm a writer, mommy is writing now. Children are still going to have needs. How do you set those boundaries and make sure your time is being respected so that you're getting done what you need to do while still being there to do all the, I'm assuming you don't stop being a mom just because you're
No,
right now.
they don't let you, right? They never let you do that. Um, I would say, like, when I started, actually, my kids were, let's see, my oldest was 8 and my youngest was 4. So there's a 4-year time span. So it worked out in that my youngest would go to preschool. She just started that year. So I'd get about a 2-hour window in there where she was at preschool and my other daughter was in kindergarten. Well, actually, she would have been past kindergarten at that point, but she was in elementary school. So they were at school for a period of time. And that was how I got it done because up until that point, it was much more difficult. I would write at night if I were writing, but when I joined my group and did all of that, my husband took over the nights that I went to group, and then I would write for that 2-hour window in the daytime before my daughter was done with preschool. And I had taken everybody back and forth to like either elementary school or preschool or whatever. I was doing a lot of carpooling, so I had about 2 hours during the day. And then I would do the mom thing. And then when they started to get close to bedtime, then I would duck out and do late night writing as well. And then a couple of times my husband had daddy daughter weekends where he would take them off for a couple of days and I'd have the house to myself for like 2 days and I would just like intensively work over those 2 days to try to catch up and get further ahead. So we kind of did this piecemeal, like when I could get to it. But with parenting, it's always sort of up in the air. And I will say, like my kids now, I have a 20-year-old and a 16-year-old and there are different challenges and they still want your attention. Like that doesn't ever change. So right now I'm on deadline and I told them this week, I'm like, I'm on deadline. I'm going to be in my writing cave a lot. Like unless it's an emergency, don't bother me in this moment. Like I'll help you with whatever I can, but I'm kind of off duty and your dad is on duty. And still, still people are at the door like knock knock. I have a crisis. I have a problem. There's this thing. So I think as a parent, you just have to get used to the interruption. And then when you can find time to have uninterrupted time, use it to like the nth degree, to the max. And that's what I do. I try to utilize that time as much as possible. Now it's very structured. My kids are, my youngest is still in school. She's a junior in high school. And so I drop her off in the mornings and then I write and then I pick her up in the afternoon. And my older daughter is a concert photographer. She takes pictures of musicians and rock stars. And so she's kind of all over the place and her schedule's all over the place. And sometimes I'll be traveling with her because some of her venues are like a little more sketchy. Like she's doing bars at night, doing concerts and things. And as a 20-year-old kid, even though she's older, I always feel weird about her doing that on her own. So I always call myself, instead of a soccer mom, I'm a bar mom. And I go with her to the bar and she does the event and I'll be in the car writing or, at the McDonald's that's close by writing. And then I'll pick her up and we'll drive home together. So she's not walking outside like late at night. So I'm still doing the late at night thing, just in a different place usually.
Well, what a perfect partner for her to have going along as somebody who is an expert on the serial killers and the monsters.
Right. I would say she hates that because I'm like, you could get abducted this way and this is how this could happen. She's like, okay, you're too paranoid. And I am. I've done way too much research. It is bad because like how quickly that can happen, what could happen. And being in Tampa, it's a port city, and so it can be kind of dangerous for young girls. So I'm probably a little overprotective given the research I do.
Yeah, but if you're in the trunk of a car being taken away, your thought could be, I was not paranoid enough. I definitely should have been more aware.
And at least they have some methodology to like escape, right? They know what to look for. But I'm that mom who's always like, watch your drink, watch your like all of those things. I have a long laundry list of things that I always tell her when she's on her way out the door.
Well, when you dive into this sort of subject matter on a regular basis, and we're going to talk more about Flight 171, which is available probably now as you're listening to us, esteemed audience, but releases October 4th. So it's either available for pre-order as you're listening to us, or you can just go get it. So you're writing about the scarier stuff of the world. How do you approach horror and monsters without letting that bleed in, without letting that make you jaded and cynical?
I don't know if I'll ever get jaded or cynical. I'll tell you, I'm like the world's biggest scaredy cat, honest to God. Like I'm that person that I have 15 fears all the time working. If I'm in a bathroom, I check behind the shower curtain. If I go in my room, I'm always thinking that something's under the bed, and like never will any part of me be hanging out from under covers. I'm paranoid, so I don't know if I'll ever get jaded. I think horror is how I work through my own fears. How would I deal with this situation? But no matter where I am, I'm always thinking of like worst case, and sometimes the most preposterous like things. So my husband, for instance, goes to bed earlier than I do, so I'm always going in late at night to bed after him, and he'll tell you, no lie, I always check to make sure it's him, which is just ridiculous. But there's a sliding glass door in our bedroom, and I'm like, what if someone broke in? And when I was younger, way back, there was a movie. Where a babysitter was watching children and the killer was in the house and he was sort of terrorizing her, and that movie sort of traumatized me. So from that point I always like check doors to make sure everything's locked, and my husband will say like I like nudge him to make sure it's him because it could be somebody who broke in, it could be a zombie. That's how ridiculous my brain is. And I'm like, I'm not going to lay down if you've got some kind of zombie thing going on over there. Like, so it is totally irrational, and I get that, but I still do it. So I don't think I'll ever be jaded. I think if anything, like it just helps me be more brave in my own life. Like I know that I work through these things mentally, and on some level, I think I've convinced myself that if I write about it, it won't happen to me. So
You know, my wife and I got a new bed, I don't know, maybe a month ago, and it's been wonderful. I'm so well rested. But it has drawers underneath it. It goes all the way to the floor. So for the first time in my life, I just get out of bed. I don't feel the need to reach my foot way over so no hands can reach out for my
so
ankle.
great. A relief, right?
One less thing. I'm still going to check the shower curtain when I get to the bathroom. But by God, when I get out of bed, worry free.
Yeah, there you go. I need to get one of those. I have looked into that, actually. I have looked into that. But I have this other added layer. Like my husband suffers from night terrors. So like when I come to bed late, a lot of times he'll have dreams where he'll wake up thinking someone's at the end of the bed and see something. And it's part of his night terrors. So his way of coping with that is like to go at whatever it is. Like he'll confront it, attack it, whatever. Even though nothing's there, it's just his brain is not fully awake yet, so he really thinks something is. So when I'm going to bed, the other thing that can happen too is if he's in the midst of that, I'm always scared he'll tackle me in the middle of the night because he'll think that I'm one of those shadow things that he dreams about. And so when I'm coming out, if I hear him stirring, I'm like, it's just me. It's just me. Like, don't tackle me in the middle of the night. But he has been known to like throw me off the bed going like, there's bugs, there's spiders, like, and kind of crawling around the bed trying to find them. And has done that, more than one time. So all of these things probably lend themselves to me being a horror writer because sleep is always sort of this tenuous thing in our household.
You need to get like a poking stick just to keep him back a little bit.
Yeah, I need like, pillows down on the floor in case he throws me off in the middle of the night, this kind of thing. So
Safety nets like for trapeze are just
right.
up out of the bed.